Welcome to Nightmare Fuel Stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the stories. Number the occupied, I've always been drawn to forgotten places. There's something about the silent corridors of abandoned buildings that speaks to me, whispers of lives once lived, of moments frozen in time. My camera captures what others have left behind, preserving memories that would otherwise crumble to dust. At least, that's how I romanticized my urban exploration hobby until 3 weeks ago. My name is Marcus Webb. I run a moderately successful urban exploration channel called Webb's Abandoned World. Nothing groundbreaking, just me, my camera, and the forgotten corners of America. I've crawled through defunct psychiatric hospitals, shuttered schools, and factories where the machinery still stands as if waiting for workers who will never return. I thought I'd seen it all until I visited the Westlake building. The Westlake was a 14-story office building on the outskirts of Detroit, abandoned in the economic collapse of 2008. From the outside, it was unremarkable, another glass and concrete monument to corporate failure. City records showed it had been empty for 15 years, scheduled for demolition next spring. Perfect for my channel. I arrived just before sunset on a Friday in October. The fading light cast long shadows across the cracked parking lot as I approached the building, gear in tow. A chain-link fence surrounded the property, but urban explorers know that such barriers are more suggestion than deterrent. I found a section where previous visitors had cut an opening and slipped through. The lobby was standard abandoned fare, broken reception desk, scattered papers, a large directory board with most of the letters missing. Dust particles danced in the beams of my flashlight. I set up my camera and began my usual intro. Hey, explorers, Webb here, coming to you from the Westlake building, 14 floors of corporate abandonment. Let's see what secrets this place is hiding. I moved toward the emergency stairwell since the elevators would obviously be non-operational. The door creaked open, revealing a concrete staircase littered with debris. As I began climbing, I noticed something odd. The higher I went, the cleaner the stairs became. By the 5th floor, there was hardly any dust at all. That's weird, I muttered to my camera. Usually upper floors are in worse condition due to roof leaks. Maybe the maintenance was better up here. I decided to start my exploration on the 7th floor. When I pushed open the stairwell door, I expected the usual open floor plan of cubicles or offices. Instead, I found myself in a hallway with closed doors on either side. The carpet beneath my feet was worn but clean. The walls, while faded, showed no signs of graffiti or vandalism. This is unusual, I narrated, panning my camera down the hallway. Almost looks like people just left yesterday instead of 15 years ago. I tried the first door on my right. It opened to reveal what appeared to be a standard office, desk, computer, filing cabinets, but something was off. The computer was an old CRT model, fitting for 2008, but there was a coffee mug on the desk. I approached it cautiously. The liquid inside was still warm. My heart rate quickened. Okay, this is strange. Either someone's squatting here or security makes themselves comfortable during rounds. I backed out of the office and continued down the hallway. The next door was locked, so was the next. The 4th door opened to a break room. The fluorescent light above flickered weakly, casting an intermittent glow across a kitchenette and a small table with chairs. Wait, the lights worked. I flipped the switch by the door and the fluorescent light stabilized, humming steadily. My mind raced through possibilities. The building might still be connected to the grid for security purposes, or perhaps squatters had rigged up some power source. Either way, it meant I wasn't alone, and that realization sent a chill down my spine. On the table sat a newspaper. I moved closer, expecting it to be from 2008, the year the building closed. Instead, the date read October 12, 2023, yesterday. Okay, Webb's Abandoned World viewers, we might have company here, I whispered to my camera. Someone's definitely using this space. Let's proceed with caution. I should have left then. Every instinct told me to turn around, but curiosity, that damned curiosity that makes urban explorers what we are, pushed me forward. The hallway ended at a larger door marked Conference Room C. I placed my hand on the handle, hesitated, then pushed it open. The room was dark except for the glow of my flashlight. It appeared to be a standard conference room, long table, chairs, whiteboard, but as I swept my light across the room, it caught something on the whiteboard that made my blood run cold. Written in neat handwriting were the words, "Welcome, Marcus. We've been expecting you." I staggered backward, nearly dropping my camera. How could anyone know my name? How could they expect me? I hadn't told anyone about this exploration, hadn't even decided on the Westlake until this morning. "Hello," I called out, my voice echoing through the room. "Is someone here?" Only silence answered me. I approached the whiteboard again, studying the writing. It was done in blue marker, the strokes precise and deliberate. Below my name was a simple arrow pointing to the right, toward another door I hadn't noticed. Against every rational thought, I moved toward that door. My hand trembled as I turned the handle. The door opened to reveal a small office with a desk facing the window. The chair behind the desk was turned away from me. "Hello," I called again. "I'm just an urban explorer." "I don't mean any harm." The chair slowly swiveled around. It was empty. Relief flooded through me, followed immediately by confusion. If no one was here who had written my name, who had turned the chair? On the desk sat a single file folder. My name was printed on the tab. With shaking hands, I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a list of dates and locations. I recognized them immediately. They were all places I had explored for my channel, in chronological order. The final entry read, Westlake Building, October 20, 2023, with today's date circled in red. "What the hell is this?" I whispered, forgetting momentarily that I was recording. How could anyone know? A noise from the hallway interrupted my thoughts, footsteps, slow and deliberate, approaching the conference room. I quickly closed the file and moved back toward the main door, intending to slip out before whoever it was entered. But as I reached for the handle, the footsteps stopped. Then came a knock, 3 precise taps on the other side of the door. I froze, unsure what to do. If I acknowledged the knock, I'd reveal my presence. If I remained silent, whoever was out there clearly already knew I was inside. "Come in," I finally said, stepping back from the door. Nothing happened. No one entered. After a minute of tense silence, I approached the door and opened it myself. The hallway was empty. "Hello," I called out, my voice echoing down the corridor. "Is anyone there?" Only silence answered me. I stepped back into the conference room, closing the door behind me. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Something was very wrong here. I decided it was time to leave. I'd come back another day, perhaps during daylight hours, perhaps with someone else. I turned toward the exit but stopped short when I noticed something had changed. The writing on the whiteboard was different. Now it read, "Don't leave yet, Marcus. Floor 12 is waiting for you." The handwriting was the same as before, neat, precise. But I hadn't heard anyone enter the room, hadn't seen anyone approach the whiteboard. It was impossible. "Who's doing this?" I demanded, my voice rising with panic. "This isn't funny." Again, only silence. I should have left. Every rational part of my brain screamed at me to get out of that building as fast as possible. But there's something about fear mixed with curiosity that can override common sense. And beyond that, there was a growing sense that leaving might not be as simple as walking back down the stairs. So I did what the whiteboard suggested. I returned to the stairwell and climbed to the 12th floor. Unlike the 7th floor, the 12th was dark when I pushed open the stairwell door. My flashlight beam cut through the darkness, revealing another hallway similar to the one below. But this one felt different, colder, with an atmosphere that seemed to press against my skin. "All right, Webb's abandoned world," I narrated, trying to keep my voice steady. "We're on the 12th floor now. Something strange is happening in this building. Someone seems to know I'm here, knows my name, and wanted me to come to this floor." I moved cautiously down the hallway, trying each door. All were locked until I reached the 5th one on the left. It opened to a large office, executive level, judging by the size and the quality of the furniture. A massive desk dominated the space, facing floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a view of the city lights below. On the desk sat an old-fashioned rotary phone. As I approached, it began to ring. The sound cut through the silence like a knife, making me jump. I stared at the phone, my mind racing. It couldn't be connected. The building had been abandoned for 15 years, yet it continued to ring, the sound echoing off the walls of the empty office. After what seemed like an eternity, I reached out and lifted the receiver. "Hello," I said cautiously. "Hello, Marcus," a voice responded, soft, almost whispery, neither distinctly male nor female. "We've been watching your channel for some time now. Your curiosity is admirable." "Who is this?" I demanded. "How do you know who I am?" "We know everyone who enters our spaces," the voice continued, ignoring my questions. "The abandoned places, as you call them. But they're not abandoned, Marcus, they're occupied." "They've always been occupied." A chill ran down my spine. "What do you mean, occupied by who?" "By those who exist between demolition and construction, between remembering and forgetting. Between life and what comes after." The voice paused. "We've allowed you to document our spaces. You've been respectful for the most part, but your curiosity has brought you deeper than most venture." I glanced nervously around the office, suddenly feeling watched from every corner. "Are you saying you're, what, ghosts?" A soft laugh came through the receiver. "Such a limited concept. We are the occupants of the spaces humans abandon. We are what remains when you all move on. And now, Marcus Webb, you've come to our home." "I didn't mean to intrude," I said quickly. "I'll leave right now." "But you've been invited to floor 14, the voice replied. "It would be rude to leave before seeing everything we have to show you." The line went dead. I slowly replaced the receiver, my hand trembling. This was beyond anything I'd experienced in years of urban exploration. Part of me was terrified, but another part, the part that had driven me to explore abandoned places to begin with, was intrigued. Okay, viewers, I whispered to my camera, though I was really talking to myself, trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy. Something very strange is happening here. Either this is an elaborate prank or… I trailed off, not wanting to voice the alternative. I made my way back to the stairwell and climbed the final 2 flights to the 14th floor, the top of the building. When I pushed open the door, I was surprised to find myself not in another hallway, but in a vast open space. The entire floor had been cleared of walls and partitions. Moonlight streamed through the windows that ran around the perimeter, illuminating the space enough that I could switch off my flashlight. In the center of the room stood a single chair, facing away from me toward the windows. Beside it was a small table with what appeared to be a photo album. I approached cautiously, my footsteps echoing in the empty space. As I neared the chair, I called out, "Hello, is anyone here?" No response. I circled around to the front of the chair. It was empty, like the one in the office below. The photo album on the table was old, its cover worn with age. There was no title, no indication of what might be inside. I sat down in the chair and placed my camera on the table, angling it to continue recording. Then I opened the album. The first page contained a black and white photograph of the Westlake building, looking new and pristine. The caption read, "Grand Opening 1972. I turned the page. The next photo showed a group of businessmen in suits standing in what I recognized as the lobby. Westlake Financial Group Board of Directors, 1975. I continued turning pages, watching as the years progressed. Staff parties, office photos, awards ceremonies, normal corporate moments frozen in time. But as I neared the middle of the album, the photos began to change. The people in them became less distinct, their faces blurry or partially obscured. The captions became strange. The first awareness, 1992. The thinning, 1997. The merger, 2003. The final photo before a series of blank pages showed the building as it appeared now, abandoned and neglected. The caption read, "The transition complete 2008. I stared at the photo, trying to understand what I was seeing. What transition? What had happened here in 2008 when the building was abandoned? As I pondered these questions, I became aware of a change in the atmosphere. The air felt heavier, charged with some kind of energy. The moonlight seemed to dim, though I could see no clouds passing over the moon through the windows. Then I noticed movement at the edges of my vision, subtle shifts in the shadows around the perimeter of the room. I turned quickly, but saw nothing concrete, yet the sensation of being watched, of being surrounded, intensified. "Hello," I called out, my voice sounding small in the vast space. "I know someone's here, please show yourself." A whisper came from behind me, so close it could have been in my ear. "We're all here, Marcus." I spun around, but there was no one there, just the empty chair where I had been sitting moments before. My camera was still on the table, still recording. Another whisper from my left. "We've always been here," and another from my right, "in all the places you've explored." Suddenly, whispers were coming from all around me, a cacophony of voices speaking just at the edge of comprehension. I turned in circles, trying to locate their source, but the room remained empty of visible presences. "What do you want from me?" I shouted over the rising tide of whispers. The voices stopped abruptly, leaving a silence so profound it hurt my ears. Then a single voice spoke from directly behind me. "We want you to see us, Marcus, really see us." I turned slowly. A figure stood there, human in shape but indistinct, as if composed of shadow and mist. Where a face should have been was only a darker concentration of shadow. "What are you?" I whispered, unable to move, unable to run. "We told you," the figure replied, its voice the same whispery, genderless tone I'd heard on the phone. "We are what remains. When humans abandon a place, they leave behind more than just buildings. They leave memories, emotions, fragments of consciousness. Over time, these fragments coalesce, we form, we exist." "In all abandoned buildings?" I asked, my mind reeling with the implications. "All places where human presence has saturated the walls, the floors, the very air," the figure confirmed. "Hospitals, schools, factories, offices, places of intense emotion, of routine, of life. We occupy them when you leave." As the figure spoke, I became aware of others materializing around the room, dozens of shadowy forms, all watching me with non-existent eyes. "Why are you showing yourselves to me?" I managed to ask. "I've explored hundreds of abandoned places. Why now?" "Because you've been looking for us, Marcus," the figure said. "Every abandoned place you've entered, every video you've recorded, you've been searching for something beyond empty rooms and forgotten objects. You've been searching for meaning, for presence, for us." I couldn't deny it. Beyond the thrill of exploration, beyond the aesthetic of decay, I had always sensed something in these abandoned places, a lingering energy, a feeling that they weren't truly empty. "What happens now?" I asked, looking around at the gathering shadows. "That depends on you," the figure replied. You can leave, return to your world, continue your explorations with the knowledge that you're never alone in these places. Or you can join us, become part of what remains. The offer hung in the air between us, impossible yet tempting. To become part of something eternal, to never have to leave these places I'd grown to love. How would that even work? I asked, my voice barely audible. I'm alive, I have a life, a channel, people who would miss me. The transition is simple, the figure said, extending what might have been a hand toward me. A choice. A letting go. Your physical form would be found eventually, of course. A tragic accident during an urban exploration. It happens more often than people realize. I took a step back. You're talking about my death. We're talking about transformation, the figure corrected. About existing in a different way, about truly becoming one with the places you love. I glanced at my camera, still faithfully recording this impossible conversation. Would anyone believe what it captured? Would anyone even see it? I need time to think, I said finally. The figure seemed to nod. Of course, but not too much time. The longer you remain here, the thinner the barrier becomes between your state and ours. Already, you've been here longer than is safe for someone who wishes to remain fully human. As if to emphasize this point, I suddenly realized I could see through my hand when I raised it. Not completely, it was still mostly solid, but there was a translucency that hadn't been there before. What's happening to me? I asked, panic rising in my throat. The building is claiming you, the figure explained. These places, they hunger for occupancy. When humans leave, we fill the void, but when humans return, the figure spread its misty arms. Well, the buildings remember what it was like to be truly alive. I need to leave, I said, backing toward the stairwell door. Now, the figure made no move to stop me. You may leave, Marcus Webb, but know this, you've been marked now. Every abandoned place you enter will recognize you. Every empty room will reach for you. And eventually, one of them will keep you. I grabbed my camera from the table and ran for the door. The shadowy figures parted to let me pass, their whispers following me as I yanked open the stairwell door and began descending as fast as I could. I didn't stop running until I reached the lobby, lungs burning, legs aching. The glass doors leading outside seemed farther away than I remembered. The lobby stretched like an image in a funhouse mirror. But I pressed on, finally bursting through the doors into the cool night air. I didn't look back until I had climbed through the fence and reached my car. The Westlake building stood silent against the night sky, its windows dark except for the top floor, where lights now blazed from every window. Lights that shouldn't have been possible in an abandoned building. That was 3 weeks ago. I've reviewed the footage countless times since then. The audio is clear, both my narration and, impossibly, the whispers and the conversation with the shadowy figure. The visual evidence is more ambiguous. The camera captures the empty rooms, the phone, the photo album, but the shadows appear only as vague distortions in the frame, easily dismissed as dust particles or lens flare. I haven't uploaded the video, I'm not sure I ever will. Some things perhaps aren't meant to be shared. I haven't gone exploring since that night either. I've made excuses to my subscribers, work commitments, equipment upgrades, research for future locations. The truth is, I'm afraid, not just of returning to the Westlake, but of entering any abandoned place, because I can feel them now, the occupants. Even passing by empty buildings on my commute, I sense their presence, their awareness. Their hunger. Sometimes, when I look at my reflection in windows or mirrors, I see a slight transparency that shouldn't be there. It comes and goes, but it's getting more noticeable. Last night, I dreamed of the 14th floor. In the dream, I accepted the shadowy figure's offer. I felt myself dissolving, merging with the building, with the shadows, and it felt, right, like coming home. I woke up crying, though I couldn't say whether from fear or longing. I'm writing this as a record in case I make a decision that means I won't be able to explain later. My camera is packed. My urban exploration gear is in the trunk of my car. The Westlake building is scheduled for demolition in 3 months. Whatever exists there will be displaced, dispersed, unless they find a new occupant before then, someone who understands them. Someone who has always felt more at home in abandoned places than in the busy, bright world of the living. I don't know what I'm going to do, but if my channel goes quiet after this, if Marcus Webb disappears from the urban exploration community without explanation, perhaps some of you will understand. Perhaps some of you will even look for me in the silent corridors and empty rooms of abandoned places. Just remember, they're never truly empty. And if you feel a presence, if you sense eyes watching from shadowed corners, if you hear whispers just at the edge of hearing, it might be me, it might be all of us who found our true home in the places the world left behind, and we're always looking for new occupants.